Hi friends, today we will be decorating these fall themed cookies using my strawberry sugar cookie dough recipe and other recipes that you've seen here on my channel before, so let's get started. A key part in cookie decorating is that I like to use edible markers to guide me to know where I'm going to outline and flood. And what I like to do first is like to go ahead and add an outline, wait 30 seconds, and then continue to flood. I do wait 30 seconds in between outlining and flooding to make sure that one layer of my icing crusts before adding the other one. What I like to do next is take a little bit of white poppy paint, dilute it with a little bit of alcohol, and tap my brush. This is key to doing before adding any of your other decoration because as you can see, there is a potential to splatter the rest of your cookie. For this part, we are going to continue to outline and then flood as we did for the first part. I also like to dry dust my cookies so that one, I don't have to take out my airbrush machine, and two, it just makes them look a little bit more realistic. And finally, I did go ahead and add a dollop of whipped cream and the crust for my pie. For my pumpkin spice latte cookie, I like to do the same, and I go ahead and outline my cup and my pumpkin as well as the stem and the leaf. And here you're going to see me outline my cookie twice because a few of the spots were a little bit dented, and I was just making sure that my outline was high enough to make sure that when I flood, the entire portion of royal icing stays within this border. And I'm going to continue to flood the same way that we did with our first cookie. If you don't have a scribe, you can also use a toothpick instead of a scribe. Also, it's important to go ahead and outline and flood alternate parts of your cookie because this is going to help create the puffy or fluffy effect, whereas if you just flood everything in the same time, it's just going to merge together and your cookie is not going to look as realistic. Before adding any of my wording, I did go ahead and dry my cookies for about 30 minutes in my dehydrator. If you don't have a dehydrator, go ahead and wait at least 24 hours before proceeding to this part. And here I'm just tracing my spaces for the letters with a scribe before actually writing with my marker. And I also like to start with the middle letters for anything that I am writing, to make sure that I'm able to space my letters correctly and to make sure that I am able to fit my entire word within the space that I am given. If this seems like too much trouble for you, you can also make a stencil for the words, or you can also use your Pico projector, but you can also improvise. And as you can see here, my letters are not perfect, but this does give it a look, as I think the brand of these mugs is Ray Dunn. Please correct me in the comments. I'm not sure if that's what this brand is called, but those of you that have seen it totally get what I'm talking about. For our pumpkin pie slice, we are going to go ahead and do the same thing, which is outline first. I do suggest outlining the entire pumpkin pie slice, but then flooding the first bottom part first and waiting at least 30 seconds to a minute before flooding the top part of your pumpkin pie slice. When outlining the pumpkin pie part of your cookie, make sure to remember to leave a tiny space at the bottom and on the side of your pumpkin pie slice for what we are going to fill in as the crust. To To add the bottom and the side crust, I am going to go ahead and use stiff consistency royal icing, and I did go ahead and use a tipless bag with a tiny hole at the bottom of it to add the side and the bottom crust. For my top crust, I am using tip 104 with stiff consistency royal icing, and I'm also going to dollop white royal icing with tip number 12. For our caramel apple, I am going to go ahead and outline with an edible marker what I think is going to be the caramel part and the apple part. I always like to start with outlining the stem first and also adding in the flooding. That way I can already have that set by the time I move to the bottom parts. For this next part, you will notice that I did outline the wrong part with green, because if you have seen a caramel apple before, when you dip, the green usually shows at the top, or rather the apple part shows at the top and the caramel at the bottom. But for this instance, we are going to go ahead and outline the bottom for our apple part, let it dry, and then go ahead and outline the top of our caramel part and go ahead and flood with the same consistency, which is medium consistency royal icing. You will be able to find a card here at the top, or also a link in my description to my royal icing consistency video and to the recipe as well. To finish my cookie, I did go ahead and drizzle medium or stiff consistency white royal icing to the top to resemble white chocolate, and then I did go ahead and top my drizzle with a few sprinkles. Also, I did go ahead and add a little bit of a detail to the top of the stem and dry dusted my apple for a more real look.